So good. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Today, my topic is going to be coming out of hoarding. Now, my two topics before were coming out of hiding. Now it's coming out of hoarding. And I want to relate that to the Center's ninth precept of charity. Back in the old days, Joel would often begin a session. It could be a practitioner's group or a Sunday session or something by doing a giveaway. And so it was kind of funny. We'd all come in so somber, ready to get, enlightened and all spiritual. And here comes Joel with a bag of cat food, half bag of cat food. Well, his cat couldn't eat that food. Would someone like to have this? And we're all sitting there, who's going to get the cat food? Gene told me that one time there was a blender, that he got a blender. And Niraj said there was a bag of rice. I remember a box of stevia. Joel tried stevia, didn't like it, so he'd bring it to us and humbly offer it up as a giveaway. I got some really nice cassette labels, because in those days we still recorded on cassette, and Jennifer had all this production, and I got some good cassette labels out of the deal. So it was kind of fun, like, what's he going to bring next? So I was thinking I would like to try this with you all, and I thought, bring in some shoes. I can, give away shoes and stuff. Well, I better simplify. So I decided to bring in my hoard of guitar picks. These are, here's a nice red one. Here's purple. There are 3 different gauges of guitar pick in here. And you see, I always wanted to be a guitar player. And so, I've got some guitars and different things, but really, I'm not a guitar player. I just wanted to be. So you have the accoutrements, and, time goes on. I haven't even used all of these. And I've given some away in birthday cards and stuff. But even if you don't play guitar, you can make a nice necklace. See here, you can hang one around your neck, and people think, oh, you got a beautiful gem. No, it's a piece of plastic. So I want to do this giveaway. Here's a nice one with different colors in it. So if anyone who would like to have one of my guitar picks, you simply need to send me an email. And I think someone's putting my email address up on the screen. Xena, 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 at AOL.com. Shows how old-fashioned I am. If you send me an email, I will mail to you. I will pay the postage and give you one of my picks. And even like it's Dan, you live in Europe, I will pay the postage to get it to you, or wherever you're coming in from. So that's my giveaway. That's my charity. That I do this to recognize Joel, that Joel did this for us. And it was a way to keep the energy going. Well, I got all this extra stuff. I don't need this. I will spread it out. I'll just be an open channel and keep it going. So if you did my, yeah, there it is. Okay, Tom put it up, Xenayana at AOL.com. Send me a message and I'll send you a pic. Okay, good? I love to see your smiles. So I wanted to read a poem for you to start. This is an original poem. It's called What I Want to Say to My Brother After I Hear That He Cleaned Out the Old Family Garage. Hey, was there a skateboard in there? One with a green rat fink, where my tough young bare feet stood? And was there a basket of cotton bolls in there? The ones Dad grew in the backyard to remind him of his real home. And was there a big wooden porch swing in there? The one we sat on swinging for decades, with Mom saying, "Don't hit the house." And was there a whole childhood in there as you cleaned out the garage, brother, and called the junk hauler to take it all away? Did you find me in there too, hiding behind every last teacup of my old doll set? And when the garage was empty, did you just stand there alone and think, job well done? Or did you regret discarding your erector set? grandma's ancient wire laundry basket full of wooden clothespins, and my 1962 G.I. Joe action figure with all the tiny little accessories. An empty space now, ready to be torn down, maybe rebuilt, maybe left to wild grass. Okay, so there's my poem for you. We have more poems or readings coming up. But if you've ever had to, thank you, if you've ever had to empty out a house, a garage full of stuff, someone's memories and possessions, you know what I mean. And I'm going to talk more about that. But first, I want to share my screen and bring this up. So the 9th precept of charity says not to be possessive of people or things, but to give unsparingly of my assets, both material and spiritual. Why? For the alleviation of suffering. Okay, so I'm holding up this card that has the 10 selfless precepts, which is available, of course, on the center's website. So there's 10. Number 9 is charity. If you are a practitioner at the center, I'm quite certain you have worked these precepts over and over, turning every stone over to see what can be revealed in responsibility, self-discipline, harmlessness, stewardship, honesty, integrity, honor, sexual restraint, charity, and remembrance. Charity, though, because I was thinking, since we're considering hoarding, keeping, could we say that charity is the opposite of hoarding? So we know about people who are afflicted with a condition that causes them to hoard items, some useful, some not. I mean, they even make television shows about extreme cases. I watched one show. That's all I needed was one show to see the affliction at the extreme. Someone whose house is filled with all the trash that was never taken out, cats that passed away behind the television. You know, you've seen it's gruesome at that level, that affliction, very much suffering going into that. And I'm certainly no expert on that kind of affliction. Some of you might be more of experts, do know more about it than I do, but we might ask ourselves, do I have any of this? Am I hoarding objects? If we look around, do we find piles of books, collecting dust, rocks? Every time I go out to a beach like this, there are all these gorgeous rocks, and I think, oh, that one, I'll take that one. And then I think, oh no, why should I take them away from their home? They want to be here. And then here I come lugging home all these rocks, feeling guilty about it. Rocks, audio cassettes. That is like 1/100th of the audio cassettes that I have. So if we look around our houses, our property, we will see what it is we're holding on to, what items. Cassettes, that's a lot about communication. That's about preserving sound. It's hard for me to give that up. But do we also hoard thoughts and emotions? So here's our outer house. One reason I like to use the virtual background is so that you can't see all the stuff that I have in my studio here stacked up, more and more coming in all the time. We might say that people in general hoard secrets. I've been one of those, hoarding secrets in my life, resentments, bad memories, stories, hoarding them, judgments. What would your inner house look like? Have you heard that expression that your outer house is an outpicturing of your inner house? So if you have a cluttered studio, what's that saying about the inner house here? We might call it hoarding of emotions and stories if we don't allow ordinary emotion to self-liberate. we stop it right here in our space. Okay, so ordinary emotions, we're ordinary human beings with the human heart. Emotions are flowing through, good ones and bad ones. And then all of a sudden, boom, I'm holding on to that one. He shouldn't have done that. I won't let it go. Okay, so we hold on, and it gathers dust, it gets bigger, it finds other creatures like itself. And pretty soon, you know, there's no space left. It's all full of resentments and so on. And then some of us may have noticed that we hold back not only those emotions, that we're holding them inside and giving them life, but we're holding back our urge to be kind, our spiritual sweetness. Do you know what I mean? The spiritual sweetness. My useful talents and intelligence. Hoarding it. Not letting it go. Not letting it be of use to anyone. Just gathering dust, stacks and stacks of poems, never letting it out. So notice the 9th precept again says to give unsparingly of my assets, both material and spiritual. But most of us, you know, have been conditioned not to boast about gifts and talents. Like, well, yeah, I'm good at math, but I don't want to stand out. I don't want to act like I'm bragging about it or something. I'm not good at math, by the way. So I need you. I need your skills in my life. But again, if we hide that, and some of you, I've talked with you about this personally, if we hide that, our intelligence, our gift for art, our gift of auto mechanics, whatever it is, if we hide that, it's stopping there. There's a story of I taking root and growing up. Okay. And the story of I is what basically enslaves our presence of being. We tell ourselves stories like, well, nobody wants it. Nobody wants the poetry. It's not good enough. Or, yeah, I'm good at cooking, but nobody wants me to come deliver them a meal. Or if I do bring it to them, they might judge me. On and on we go, creating these stories out of our conditioning. Do you understand what I'm saying? So there's 3 levels I'm talking about: the physical, the material, the mental, and then this heart space where we hoard so much. So we're hoarding in all of this apparent arising and conscious. But back to the material. Again, if you've ever had to empty out a parent's house, you might observe generations of objects being passed down. And now it's you, the dutiful daughter or son or child, coming there, and someone's got to do it. Someone's got to go through this. It can be quite overwhelming. Well, where do I start? And this was great grandmother's, and I don't know, I forgot the story on this, and back and forth you go. Now, in my case, my mother was born in 1924. So she was definitely a Depression child. She grew up during the Depression. So it's not surprising that in cleaning out her house, which was our family home, there was piles of little tiny pencil nubs. You don't throw out a pencil nub. There's still lead in there. You don't throw it away. She'd have big coffee cans full, not to throw away. Rubber bands wrapped around cards and notes, but you know, the rubber bands, they do deteriorate and snap. They go rotten, right? And furthermore, pieces of paper, scraps and scraps of paper. Don't throw away the envelope to that bill because we could write a grocery list on there. So interestingly, she saved stationery that was, I don't know, from the 40s or 50s. It was so old that when she would write a letter on it and fold it up and put an envelope, and I'd get it, it'd be in 3 pieces because it would crack. That's how old it was. Crack into 3 pieces. And my brother, who cleaned out the garage, he actually took possession of that paper and sends me stuff in the mail on that cracked paper. Kind of odd. So why throw it away? I mean, some of us recycle. We don't want to throw away good stuff. But in my mother's case, I think there was some suffering going on there, like the fear of not having what you need when you need it, like the rubber band or, you know, food. I mean, definitely survival things during the Depression. My father, when he retired, he always wanted to go back to farming. So he'd go around to farm auctions and he would buy as many leather horse collars as he could possibly find. You know what leather horse collars are? They're the great big collar they'd put on horses to haul wagons and things on the farm. So when mother passed away, then we had to deal with all dad's stuff. He'd passed away earlier. All the horse collars, piles, I don't know, hundreds. Yeah, he bought every one that he could, and all the farm equipment, all the old stuff. And I think only the Amish were really interested in maybe using that. They're collector's items too. Also arrowheads. He'd go to farm auctions and buy up all the arrowheads that were found on farms in Iowa and Illinois. So these items get passed down, you know, well, okay, more and more stuff coming, more and more stuff coming. And then, you know, in cleaning out my mother's house, I had to recognize that I never moved out of the house. I'm 67 years old now, and I had to go back and here's my teenagehood in here. Here's my childhood in here. Am I going to throw it away? How about this mask? How can I throw my mask away? Right? I had to bring this all the way back from Iowa, even though it's broken. How can I throw my mask away? How do I throw my donkey away? I mean, look, there's an eye missing. There's one eye, and he's got one eye and one ear. I had this when I was 3. How can I throw him in the trash? So we end up with mounds of stuff. What's going to happen when I pass away? What's going to happen to my records? I got a lot of them. Records. What's going to happen to my Xena collection? In the box. Got a lot of them. So, you know, Neeraj and I talk about this. What are we going to do? What should I do with all those quilts? You know, what should she do with all this stuff? And so it's a question that we deal with all the time in everyday life. Stuff coming in. So I look around my house now, I see all of these things that have accumulated. Some of them are mine from my childhood, my teenagehood. I got my big bell-bottom blue jeans. They're pretty cool. I don't think I can get into them. But I also have grandma's stuff. I have great Aunt Margaret's stuff. I have a museum over here to Neeraj. So on and on it goes. Unless you're a Zen practitioner, you have nothing, or you know, simplify, you're probably sitting there with a lot of stuff as well. Is that true? Yeah, okay. So I want to do a little experiment with you. We're going to use the chat bar. So I'm going to bring up my chat. Okay. And I'm going to lead you in a little prompt. I'm just looking for a few words that you can type into your chat. Now, if you're not familiar with what I'm saying, you don't understand chat or how to do it, don't worry. Don't be all distracted trying to figure it out. But I'd like to accumulate some items here. In answer or in completion of the sentence, okay, so here it is. Please write in the chat bar some things you have stored in your house. So I'm looking at my chat now, and I'm looking to see some chats popping up with things I have stored in my house. Keep going. Okay, good. So keep going, keep loading them up, and I'm going to read these to you as I see them. Boxes full of empty boxes, books and manuals, artwork, old photos, loads of old books and manuals, cleaning supplies, fabric scraps, far too many guitars, I'll take a couple, my mother's silver pieces, art, my husband's things, shoes, a stack of journals, 1 foot tall, unread, my ancestors' treasures, papers and homework from college, spiral notebooks, journals, art supplies, camping equipment, photos, bad books, animal bones, cow, elk, pig, etc., old Christmas cards and letters from loved ones, photos, papers on desk, projects not completed, rocks, 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 really too many things to say, resumes from college, glass jars, rocks and shells. Okay, so we are a people of things, aren't we? Books, books, books. Yes, people of many things. And if we don't disperse our things in our lifetime, somebody else will get to do it. Okay, interesting. We can make a poem out of this long list. But let's move on to what we hoard in our minds. Secrets, resentments. For me, it was stories of betrayal. So early in life, let's say 17, someone betrayed me, broke my heart. Betrayal, what a great word, betrayal. It lived inside me. I couldn't let it go. I fueled it. I kept it. And then the next person came, also betrayed me. What's this world like? Betrayal everywhere I look. And sure enough, I'm hoarding betrayal. I can't let it flow through. Oh, this is lie. Life does this. No, I'm holding on. The next person I meet, betrayal, 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 a long list of people betraying me. Okay? Until I realize, oh, the next person I meet is going to betray me. So I meet you, and I know you're going to betray me. Mm-hmm. I know you're going to betray me. So self-fulfilling prophecy, right? I'm holding on to betrayal. I see betrayal in people, and they're going to hurt me. And so I'm out picturing that. And here they come, helping me out to fulfill that prophecy. Somewhere along the line, though, that was liberated. So I no longer live a life where I'm harboring or hoarding betrayals. It was liberated. I could probably give a whole talk about that, but it has to do with liberating the stories of I, because that's where that stuff is living. It's living in the stories of I. It's not living in the true nature. The true nature doesn't feel betrayed. It's the story of I, which is fictional. My little fictional self that I connect up the dots and create this Mary Song story. So let's try chat again. And in this time, please write in the chat, in my mind, you will find. So if I could look down into your mind and see what you're hoarding there, what could we write? In my mind, you will find. Go ahead and give me some chats on that. Things we'd find in the mind. Good. Lots of fears. In my mind, you will find memories of my youth. You will find longing. You will find an armored heart. In my mind, you will find resentment about not being seen. You will find victimhood. In my mind, you will find guilt. Guilt loops focused on social commitments. You will find jealousy, grief, adventures of past, projections. In my mind, you will find the opportunity you seek. In my mind, you will find competition for attention. You will find guilt and shame. You will find anger about little things. You will find sorrow and loss. You will find a growing self-love. Love of the wind. Good. Pain of past failures. You will find this in my mind. You will find resentments. He refused to pick me up at the airport in the middle of the night. Good one. You will find love of nature, insanity. Good, good. So again, we have a beautiful poem arising here. And one thing this does, I think this exercise is, we can see, oh, sorrow and loss, guilt and shame. Everybody's got a taste of that. The taste of that. Until we liberate the stories of I, these things are going to be, we're going to be tasting them. They keep coming up, just like my betrayal again and again would come up. Wonderful. Okay. Now, let's talk about what we hoard in our hearts. Now, I call it hoarding when it gives us a suffering. So when it becomes an affliction, okay? So if you're hoarding, well, we'll talk about that. And some people make no real distinction between heart and mind, and that's fine. You know, all one thing. But for this purpose, we're just going another step. So we'll see how it goes. Here's a quote from Joel, by the way. I'm going to put this in here. I just re-listened to a talk by Joel, which you can see or listen to on the center's webpage. It's called Practicing the Precepts 4 of 4. So he does a whole series. And Tom McFarland, I think, just now put the link up to this talk, which was recorded in the year 2000. And Joel says, when we practice charity, we are simply living realistically. Rather than living under delusion, and insofar as our own nature, our true nature is this indwelling divinity, the core of our being, our consciousness. When we act charitably, we are expressing our true nature directly, immediately, not just thinking about it. We are being it. So you can listen to this entire talk. He talks about charity and generosity. And right at the end of the talk, there's me 21 years ago questioning him. Some people say, I know you as the questioner, the inquisitor, questioning him at the end about this word unsparingly, and on it goes. It's kind of fun to hear myself back there questioning him. But it makes an excellent point, what he's saying here about this natural flow of generosity, charity, okay? The natural flow. So when you go into the grocery store, as I have done, and I see someone, an example might be someone is in a wheelchair or a motorized cart, and they're driving down the aisle and they're looking up to the top shelf, and I'm coming along behind. Do I automatically reach up and say, can I get that for you? That bag of dog food up there? Or do I say, oh, I better not get involved. That person might be someone who says, I don't want anybody to help me. Do I take a chance on them criticizing me? So that natural charity would actually bypass the whole calculation. Who cares? You know, can I help you? No, I don't want any help. Okay, fine. And I don't hang on to that. Rejection comes, rejection goes. So that natural flow, may I help? May I help? How can I help you with this? Which brings me to another little story. I went on a trip recently and visited a friend from afar. And when I got to her house, she was feeling very reclusive with COVID, and she'd had some physical infirmities, and you know, she wasn't letting people in the house. And I said, I'm coming. So, you know, I drove 1,600 miles to get there. And so when I got in her house, I looked around and I thought, borderline hoarder going on here. And so instead of judging her, I said, hey, you look like you need some help with this. And she said, yeah. I said, let me start on these dishes. So I started on the dishes. Nirja also. We worked together. The dishes, the laundry, lots and lots, lots and lots. The kitty litter that hadn't been carried out. You might go into someone's house and say, well, I'm not going to start cleaning their house. They're going to be mad about that. But I noticed that she wasn't mad about it. If I thought that she was offended, I probably would have, we would have worked it out. But I didn't see that. I saw somebody who had been infirm, like an arm problem, and she couldn't lift, and we just went to work. We just went to work. Now, I told my friend that Ruth Dennison, my Vipassana teacher, gave me a very important lesson one time. I didn't see it coming, and then all of a sudden it came and it changed me. It actually led me to be able to go to someone's house and say, can I do your dishes? And the teaching Ruth gave me, I was down at her place at Joshua Tree, her retreat center, Dhammadena. It's out in the desert out there, and we were walking on a path, and I was very devoted to her. So I was like, I might have had a clipboard writing down her every word, or I was recording her, and we're walking down the path together, and I'm watching her, and all of a sudden she's down on her hands and knees, and she's picking up some boards, some lumber off the path. So it appeared that somebody had preceded us on the path and was carrying a big load of wood and had dropped some of it right on the path. And Ruth, who was 30, 35 years older than I, is down picking that up while I'm standing there going, And she said, when you see something that needs to be done, you do it. Don't wait for someone else to do it. And boy, did that cut through my stuff. My stuff of not being good enough. I wouldn't be good enough to pick up the wood. I'd do it wrong, or somebody meant it to be there. I'd get in trouble, or, whatever it is. She cut right through that for me. You see it, you do it. So back in my bunk room, she came around to my bunk room and she pointed out that closet in the bunk room is all turned upside down. There were blankets and sheets, and somebody had just thrown. She said, now here's something that you can do. I said, oh yeah, I didn't even think about it. I'm in this room. I didn't even look to the closet and care. And so she sat there with me. She was from Germany. She had a very exact way to fold and put stuff in just like this. And so we did that, and it really taught me a lesson. So when I saw my friend in need, I didn't stop to think, am I going to get in trouble? Am I good enough? I just went to work. And by the time Nirj and I left, I felt like we'd turned a corner. My friend had turned a corner, and she was happy to disperse things and get the whole energy flowing. So when you see something that needs to be done, you do it. There's an energy to charity, and that energy gets hung up by our stories that nobody wants me to come around, sweep their steps for them. No, but they would be mad at me, right? Think about that, how that comes up in your life. I wanted to help, and then, because when it comes to charity, we think, oh yeah, well, I'll give $100. Well, maybe $100 doesn't really hurt you. Joel actually, in that talk that I mentioned, he warns us, he said, if you start giving and you notice that it makes you feel really good, and it does, I mean, giving, there's a real joy to that. It makes your heart say, oh yeah, helped. But if you continue then to do it again and again, because you want that joy rush, then you're missing the whole point. It becomes a selfish act rather than selfless. Of course, there's a great, byproduct to giving, even if it's only selfishly, you're helping, you're contributing to the charity or whatever it is. But coming back to this withholding, this hoarding of our gifts and talents, we hoard our intelligence. We hoard our art, our poems, our strength, our spiritual sweetness. And this is a cause of suffering. Joel says that one reason mystics practice precepts is to interrupt our self-centered conditioning, which is an obstacle to realizing who we really are. And in my words, I say, if your conditioning includes self-doubt, and no doubt it does, not good enough, I don't belong, then it's very hard to move spontaneously with that natural generosity because you believe nobody wants it. Your charity's not good enough. Anybody identify with that? Okay. It does feel good to give. It does feel good to give. Notice the negotiation that goes on in your mind when you're thinking about giving. Yeah, I'll give $100. No, I'll cut it at $50. Well, I think they'd be happy with 25. Ruth would often talks about Donna because she did not charge for the teachings, but Donna, was how she kept that center going. And she'd say, give till it hurts. Give till it hurts. If, it doesn't hurt, then, where's that charity coming from? Unsparingly. That's what that word means when it comes to play in the 9th precept. So when we are coming out of hoarding materially and spiritually, the true nature of being comes shining through. If, my friends, you have spiritual gifts that you're hoarding, it becomes agonizing for you. Even if you're awake, it's agonizing. It's like holding back, the waterfall. It's like, hold it back, because I'm afraid I'd be criticized. So some of you have heard me talk about this before, but a turning point in my life was when I recognized I was resisting spiritual giving. Adyashanti calls this self-giving. When I first heard Adyashanti say that, I thought he meant giving to your own self, but what he means is giving yourself away. It's quite fascinating to think about. Spiritual giving, and finally, I couldn't hold back anymore. I was brimming with teachings and helpfulness spiritually. Now, Joel had asked me to teach years before this, and I had resisted. I had resisted. And that built up a tremendous pressure, so that I was at a retreat with Joel in the fall of 2018. It was up at our center building. It was the one retreat that we've had that was non-residential. Am I saying that right? Where you go home at night. So we'd come in the morning and we'd be with Joel. He was giving us teachings. And then Joel would go home, I think, at 2:30. I'm not sure he came back at all after that. So I'd be sitting there the rest of the day, and I'd just be brimming with these teachings and helpfulness, especially during walking meditation. I think, oh, I have a teaching to go with this. It'd be helpful for people. I could do this. Ruth trained me very well in walking meditation, lifting, moving, placing, keeping the mind so focused on every muscle. And I thought to myself, well, I can't just blurt any of that out. I was not asked, or I didn't accept the invitation to teach. So I can't just be helping people if they didn't ask me. That would be wrong, I thought. So at the end of that retreat, there's a roundup. People get to say something at the end. And so I said, Joel, I have not been practicing charity, and that's got to change. And so he welcomed me. And that like bursted open for me. Okay, what have I got to give? Well, for one thing, I've been a writing teacher for decades. Can I use my writing teaching talent to do writing workshops? Yes. Yes. Can I give Sunday talks? Yes. So, I mean, in this way, I feel an alignment happening. Oh, no longer holding that back. Don't look at me as a spiritual teacher because I have judged spiritual teachers. Now you're going to judge me. And so coming out of hiding about that allows me to say, okay, you don't like my spiritual teaching? Fine, it's okay. I'll take that rejection. Kim Rosen, the poet Kim Rosen, I was doing a workshop with her recently on death's door, the threshold of death. And she said she was working with somebody about rejection, and he wanted to have a practice of receiving rejection. So he went and stood on the street corner and he waved to the cars passing by like this. And then they would give him dirty looks and give him the finger, and he would take the rejection. I mean, some people would wave back and be happy, but he knew he was going to be rejected. He'd go out there and be rejected. Go ahead. I want to be open to rejection, because closing down to rejection, that's going to close up that whole channel and keep us imprisoned in the story of I. Let's do the third chat. The third chat. Okay. The third chat. In my heart, you will find. Let's see what we can get in response to that. So on the chat bar, let's see what we get. In my heart, you will find. Okay, here we go. In my heart, you will find constricted generosity, grasping at loving, love for my pets. In my heart, you will find longing mixed with serenity. In my heart, you will find appreciation. You will find withheld compassion. In my heart, you will find a welcoming. You will find love, joy. You will find withholding compassion when needed. In my heart, you will find courage and trust. In my heart, the sweetest acceptance. In my heart, love and joy. An uninhibited dancer. In my heart, you will find tears. In my heart, gratitude for every little thing. In my heart, openness. That's a gorgeous poem. It's just beautiful. So mindfully, we can look into these areas of our lives, the lives that appear arising in consciousness, and see what's stopping that flow. And it could be the cassette tapes. It could be the Wolfman mask. It could be objects that might be better somewhere else. It could be that pureness of heart and mind that is loaded down with things we've stored up. The beautiful, beautiful spaciousness of being, presence of being. It gets so cluttered. It gets so cluttered. Again, not an issue if it causes no suffering. So if you have a messy house and it's not a suffering, well, I wouldn't create suffering over that. Although if the neighbors start to, call the housing authority or whatever, it could be a problem. So at this point, I wanted to call on Sally Snyder. Hi, Sally. Sally's been working in my writing workshops, my spiritual writing workshops with the center. And we did this experiment in our writing workshop, this what you will find in my house. And the way we prefaced it, it was a spontaneous writing, by the way. You only had 3 minutes. So when you hear Sally read, she had 3 minutes to write this piece. We imagined that we have passed away and we have left a message for somebody's coming along behind us. And in the message is going to say what you'll find in my house, what you'll find in my mind, and what you'll find in my heart. So there's Sally. Go ahead, Sally. Would you read your piece for us?
In my house, you will find most of my possessions relatively organized and easy to sort through. You will see that I have pared down the number of books I used to have, though we'll find them here and there throughout the house. You will find old journals in spiral notebooks stored near my bed. Please don't read these. I haven't gone back and read them in years, as the last time I did read them, I was distressed by how little seemed to have changed. While that may not be as true anymore, I know that I'm reluctant to share much of what I wrote. In my mind, you will find worried thoughts about what you all think of me. Think of how I've lived my life, what I've kept from you, especially if you browse my journals, and also hopeful thoughts that you will appreciate some of what I've collected and kept around me, and especially how I've lived my life and what I've contributed to yours. You will also find peaceful thoughts of recognition that the hopes and the worries are mirages. In my heart, you will find all the love that I have for you and this living world, this miraculous universe, a deeper and keener love than I was ever able to express, sometimes even to myself, in the ways that I long to. My dearest wish is that my love will now be clear to you and with you for the rest of your days.
Beautiful. Thank you for that, Sally. It's so deep and expressive. In 3 minutes, this was written. And everyone in the writing workshop, we do that spontaneously, and then everyone who wants to can read. Mostly people do want to read. And that one really stuck in my mind. There's so many that stick in my mind. But I asked Sally to share that one. Do you have any other comment about it, Sally? Or
I think just that I got to watch myself go through the process of responding to your request with, oh no, and then thought about the ninth precept and
yeah,
the opportunity to just step out of that. Yeah.
exactly. I'm glad you brought that up because um, sometimes, I mean, we may write a stunning piece or a helpful piece. It could be a how to do Zoom so you can join your meeting or whatever it is. And then comes the judging mind that criticize, well, yeah, I don't know, I'll work on it later because I didn't think I did a good job and really needs to be edited and on and on we go. And pretty soon 10 years have passed and you can't even find that. I think I wrote it, but I don't, this has happened to me so many times. So I love in our workshops that spontaneous flow, and we put it right out there to each other. And then I invite people to contact Tom and maybe submit it to the newsletter. Let some other people see. Let some other people be moved. And if they don't like it, they're driving by and you're waving and they give you the finger. Well, I know that hurts, but now in both of the workshops we did coming out of hoarding. And I wanted to give the rest of you an idea of the precepts, not the precepts, the writing prompts that I gave. And these I also write spontaneously. I try not to think about them too much, but just be an open channel and let them come through. And then the writing practitioners, they have these at home, and every morning or every day, it doesn't have to be morning, they do a 10-minute writing jumping off the prompt. So I gave these prompts for coming out of hoarding. And we, by the way, we mix the points of view. So it could be third person, second person, first person. We mix verb tense. We use fiction and nonfiction. So here they are. She opens the closet and is shocked to realize she's been hoarding. I don't think I'm a hoarder, but I do have a rather large collection of Xena items, whatever it happens to be for you. She or he or they managed to stuff a garage full of. You ran out of room in your brain for resentments and judgments. So you. Her heart feels like bursting because she has hoarded so much love. My hoard of self-criticism was leaking out of my eyes. And then finally, you liberated your stories of I from the storage unit you had rented. So we come back then after everyone's written these, and then we go around, people choose one to read. And I wanted to call on Maura Scanlon, whom I like to call Maura Sky, because she wrote the one, you liberated your stories of I from the storage unit you had rented. And you read that one to us, Maura, and I noted it. So I think it'd be a good one to read to the whole group. Is that fine with you?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good.
You liberated your story of I from the storage unit you had rented. You stood in the empty box in rows of empty boxes. You visualized each unit glutted with stuff. No room at home for this extra stuff. Then why do we keep it? Home is mostly empty too. More room for love and being. Less distractions from being in awareness. Less excuses to put off doing nothing. No more must clean, must organize, must make space. You already have enough. You already are enough. No need to decorate it or you. Accessories not needed. Maybe being prepared for disaster? Is that how you want to spend your time? Now you have an empty room. You consider canceling it. But it feels so good to have a clear, open space. You could come and unlock it and dance around whenever you needed to remember space. This is how an uncluttered mind feels. Ha! And when you fill it again, you could just rent another unit to be the empty one. It's called rearranging the furniture on the Titanic. It's all going down. This self will sink to the bottom of the sea. You won't take your things with you unless you're on a houseboat. Do you want to keep all your things, memories, etc., with you all the time to remind you of this sorry, clinging little puny self that you think is so important? Or do you want to travel so lightly that you can take a detour to a mountaintop view at the drop of a hat? Then you have one less hat. No need to arrange a caretaker for your stuff, an alarm security system, and a cat care person. You can just let go and see what happens. Moving so lightly, no footprints remain on the sand behind you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Maura.
Thank
I love
you.
that piece. How does that feel, sharing that with the larger group? Is it okay?
Yes, it is okay. I was thinking, my initial resistance was, wait a minute, they're not bearing their souls to me like the small group does.
Yes.
And so I don't need to do it, or I don't owe them anything, or I I don't know, it's somewhat safer that way. But then I thought, but this is the bigger group is more, it's more of a gift. I guess it's somebody I don't even know how they're going to react.
Yeah.
I don't know who they are.
Who are you? Yeah, we're just speaking into the screen here. Who are you all? What are you thinking? It's kind of strange. All these minds appear to be arising, thinking things about what we do, right? You did a wonderful job, and thank you for reading that piece. Thank you for offering it up to the larger group. I want to try one more chat. This just occurred to me. Let's try one more chat. So again, I think some people might have just joined, and what we're doing is using the chat bar. We're basically creating a poem, experimental poem. Let's start with this line. If I donated my gifts and talents, I could. Let's try that in the chat bar. If I donated my gifts and talents, first of all, we got to recognize we have gifts and talents. Okay? Yeah, let's keep those coming. If I donated my gifts and talents, I could be free. I could be unburdened. I could have an empty studio with more space to create. I could be so very happy and joyful. If I donated my gifts and talents, they would be everyone's. Nice, yeah. I could spend time doing what I truly love. I could fly. I could spend less time with neuroses. I could die happy. Now let's get specific and concrete, okay? If I donated my gifts and talents, I could do your taxes for you or whatever. Your gifts, your talents, what you're good at. Okay, I could die happy. If I donated my gifts and talents, I could, that stumped you a little bit there. What could you do? Help people communicate clearly. Thank you. I could share the joy I get in creating. Absolutely. I could make quilts for everyone. I could listen closely and help you see yourself more clearly. I could help groups find unity. Absolutely. I could teach Feldenkrais awareness through movement. I could sing you what's going fast now, a really good joke. Sing you a really good joke. I could organize your home. Oh, Sally, come to my house. I could bring color to the people. I wouldn't have to expect others to do what I think needs to be done. Yes. I could take you kayaking. Oh, yeah? I could take you golfing, Vikastan. Take me golfing. I could make use of the knowledge I have. I could take you hiking. Wonderful. So we have so much to give that we hold back. Why do we hold it back? I could take you to some amazing hikes and lake swimming. Makes me want to cry. I could teach creativity, Hillary. Absolutely. We get so isolated in our stories of I. Look at all this in community, what we can offer each other. That's just beautiful. I could give you jars of jam. I could wash your dishes. I can't cook for you very well, but I could boil an egg for you. I could sing with you. Yeah, very sweet. These types of writing prompts help to just open that channel to dislodge what's ever sitting there. I could make you a delicious meal. Good deal. Thank you. Yeah. Food, help, being in nature, all these things we can help each other with, and yet we tend to live isolated lives, our own car, our own house, our own Netflix and this and that. Beautiful. I could listen and hear what's in your heart. Thank you, Sherry. Yeah, sometimes we think no one wants to listen, no one wants to hear what I have to say. They all think I'm, nobody, and we are nobody. Good. Okay, thank you for that. Beautiful. That was a spontaneous chat. And this is the first time I've done this with chat, and I think it worked. Do you think it worked? Yeah. Okay, now I can add that to my repertoire of things to offer. Let me read you a short poem that I wrote called Leaving the Life. Crow says, "Swiftly will come the day we leave the house. We will hardly recognize it coming. Startled, we step back. Crow says, we will hand over the keys. We will stand in front of the house frozen. We will be incapable of comprehending the emptiness. It's all right that we have emptied a lifetime from it. It's all right that we left a bit of dust hard to reach. It's all right that the porch needs fixing and paint. Let us unfreeze our limbs. The deed is done. The house that was our house is vacant. Soon something else will happen there, or so it seems, we know not what. Crow says it's been a long time coming. Crow has lived and died 25 times there in that tree. Crow's children have flown away. And we will unfreeze and move our legs. We will walk away in different directions, crying. Crow has seen a lot of that. So I want to bring this to a close. Thank you so much. I feel so enlivened by all your energy and your sharing. Just look around at everybody on gallery view. We have come together as a group to share this time together. There's what greater gift to come together as a group to share these teachings. I want to thank Joel and Ruth, my root teachers. Their teaching streaming in and through. I'd like to give you a quote from Joel that's from that same talk on charity. Joel says, it's extremely important for us to understand that when we practice charity and when we try to put love and compassion into action, it is not something that we ultimately have to generate. We don't have to become good, loving, compassionate beings. We are good, loving, compassionate beings. We don't know it. Listen to Joel say that on the recording. It's beautiful. He says, we don't know it. We simply have to remove the obstacles and it will flow freely and spontaneously. Let's do a bow in Joel's fashion, thanking everybody for being here. 2 hours of focused attention, just lovely. And slowly, slowly, let's do it slowly, slowly. Slowly feeling those hands and the presence of being radiating from hands. Magnetically pulled together in my case. Slowly coming together until the palms are touching, fingertips, hands together. And then they come down to the heart.